Alright, so this is where we left off on the Dracula game. We were going into this office to meet this lady. So let's go ahead and talk to her.
I won't examine this document without permission.
I'm talking to her. What
Father
are you talking
Arno,
about?
I presume. You didn't have too much difficulty finding my office?
No. The concierge told me what I needed to know. You have a wonderful place.
All the art objects surrounding me were bequeathed by my mentor and friend, the late Professor Hermann von Bergen.
I know his reputation. He was a great traveler.
And a distinguished scholar. But tell me, did you have a pleasant journey?
Yes, thank you. I admired the Transylvanian landscape, then I fell asleep.
And you've come from Transylvania?
From Vladiviste, to be precise.
The homeland of Vlad the Impaler. You made the right choice of locales to investigate vampires. Herman went there too when he was young.
Okay. So let's see here. Alright, so yeah, this is where we last left off, and I'm just trying to complete the game. I had to replay it because I'm not able to access the other save file for some reason on the other computer. Let's see, I'm curious to know.
He never told me. I've had various hypotheses, of course, but I must confess, the question intrigues me, and to think that the answer might lie behind you. The personal papers of Herman are in this strongbox. He died suddenly, and didn't have the time to give me the code for opening it.
Can I try to open it? I'm no expert in the matter, but with a little luck.
Gladly. I'd be very grateful if you managed to open Herman's strongbox.
Okay.
I won't examine it. I won't examine...
What am I supposed to be looking at?
This lock is incredibly noisy. Or has my ear become more sensitive?
Okay, so this is the one where you just listen for the clicks. I kind of already know the code. It's Roman numerals. All you do is listen for the clicks. That. Okay. I think this one was like I. No, it's not. There. It's another C. And X.
I found the combination.
X.
MDCCCXX. Looks like a number in Roman numerals.
Thank you for opening the strongbox, Father. Would you be so kind as to deposit the contents on my desk?
Okay.
This is a letter from Mr. Stoker addressed to Herman. Read it, please.
Sure. Dear Master, I must admit that your last letter caused me some grief. I hereby hope to reassure you, and above all, convince you, that I did not misuse the fascinating history that you recounted to us at Beefsteak Club. Above all, please know that I've never doubted the gravity of this matter. It is precisely for that reason that I found it a good source of inspiration. I understand that you do not wish to be troubled, since all you did was to perform your duty. However, during that memorable meeting at the club, you most certainly suggested that we employ prudence and discretion, but you did not require us to keep an absolute secret. Why act in such a manner if not because you wished in one way or another to warn humanity against the terrible danger that you had faced? And is this not the real reason for which you confided in us? Or, if it is impossible to reveal the naked truth without bringing you any prejudice, what better means of warning our contemporaries against the lords of the night than a novel that reveals their tricks, and especially the means to destroy them? Thus I had reasoned, and that is why I wrote my Dracula. Sorry. This book of which you disapprove today. Consider, however, that I have moved the action from Transylvania to England, that I have created two distinct characters from your Luciana. In other words, that I considerably altered your story, which, we might note, recounts events that are already 24 years old. Is this not enough to protect you? As your other criticisms do not, they contradict the first ones? Because after having reproached me for having disclosed too much, you accuse me of deforming and water down the facts. Is it true, or it is true, that I often let my imagination and sensibility guide my quill? The greatest liberty that I took was no doubt to give my novel a happy end, but the story of failure could have generated such distress when we wish, on the contrary, to inspire hope and the desire to fight. Finally, you write, I would have preferred that you do not quote me. To my deepest regret, in order to respect your will, I have struck out from the drafts your real family name. Will you at least allow me to designate you by the Latin form of your name, Arminus? Without that, I would feel guilty of having literary ingratitude. Please accept my sincere devotion and admiration of Bram Stoker. Okay.
I won't examine this document without...
Okay, shut up.
So then Stoker was inspired by a story told him by Professor von Bergen, the story of events that had taken place in Transylvania. Perhaps in Bladoviste?
It's probable.
Did you know that Professor van Bergen knew Bram Stoker?
Yes, but I ignored all the details that are recounted in this letter. I only knew that Stoker had cited Herman among the sources inspiring him, and Herman was not flattered.
Had the professor foreseen the novel's success?
In no way. One day he told me, speaking of Stoker, that irresponsible man didn't understand half of what I told him. He's peddling errors that could cost people their lives. Fortunately, his book will be quickly forgotten.
Damn. That's harsh. What is the source of the belief in vampires? They say your library is remarkably rich.
The first trace we have stems from ancient Babylon. The creation poem contains sinister allusions to Lilith, the unappeasable, who sucks the blood of newborns. Several centuries later, the Odyssey evokes dead people who crowd together to drink at a blood-filled ditch.
Ugh.
But it's in Europe, beginning in the 14th century, that veritable epidemics of vampirism are described. They would continue until the 18th century, a period which left us much written testimony.
What an energetic method.
It's very widespread. In Russia, they use an aspen stake. In other places, it's made of hawthorn, from which Christ's crown of thorns was woven. That's true, but it's very hard to find one's way in it. Herman had a very particular way of storing his books. Let's say he classified them more poetically than functionally. Every time I take a volume from the shelf, I write its call number on a bookmark I slip between the pages. That way I can put it back in place without losing too much time. For the same reason, I use ghosts.
Ghosts?
Yes, there are ghosts in my library. That's what we call the pieces of white cardboard that signify the place of a missing work on the shelf.
Okay, can I look at these books now?
It has to. Reports describe hundreds of grave openings. The vampire's cadaver is identifiable because it's perfectly conserved. It often appears swollen by the blood it has absorbed. The blood stains its clothes, its nails, or its mouth. It's sometimes so abundant that it overflows the coffin.
You speak of vampires as if they existed. Reassure me you don't really believe in them, do you?
What do you mean by believe, Father?
I mean, do you think that vampires have a real, objective existence?
Real or objective? You must choose, Father. Because the only immediate reality is subjective. The rest are just hypotheses.
All right, your viewpoint is unassailable. So let me reformulate my question. According to you, has the existence of vampires been demonstrated?
Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, "If ever there was in the world a warranted and proven history, it is that of vampires. Nothing is lacking. Official reports, affidavits of well-known people, of surgeons, of priests, of magistrates. The evidence is most complete."
Yet all these stories and affidavits seem very confused to me. I sense nothing coherent behind it all. Didn't you say yourself that the traditions don't agree?
Don't take the legends literally. I think they are the deformed reflection of a truth that is even more horrible. This book, The Lords of Twilight, is the most rigorous volume ever written on vampires. Open it.
Okay. Oh my gosh. This is gonna be long. The manner in which the lords completed their ranks entirely different. This is a process of selection and cooptation that sources after the 15th century referred to the path of the dragon. This initiatory journey offers to the human being who undertakes it the chance to transcend his condition in order to join the lords. Marked by trials along the way, it finally brings the candidate into the presence of one of them. If it's the latter's pleasure, the human receives the baptism of blood, which confers immortality, which Christian author referred to as the power to live beyond the grace of God. Forward. Those for whom this work is intended know enough about it that it is not necessary to either demonstrate the obvious facts or quote the details of my references. I will therefore limit myself to summarizing the facts. Those whom we shall agree to call the superior strangers or lords originate from the human race, live among it, feed upon it. Path of the Dragon. The trials of the path are at the crossing points of real, symbolic, and magical. They are tremendously selective, and if it happens that exceptional beings overcome one or two of them without realizing fully the journey they are undertaking, completing it requires a total commitment, an unfailing will, as well as an intangible factor that we may call demonic grace, because no one can become Lord without the favor of and approval of a Lord. We know that they do not grow old, and that they are almost invulnerable. The almost is important. If lords can be destroyed, then they must compensate losses due to violent deaths. One way or another, they must reproduce. Reproduction and selection. In numerous species, the reproduction is independent of sexuality. It's the case with the lords. We can hypothesize, at least in the first step, that their reproduction is the result of calculation. As probable, they help each other in maintaining the lesser men in ignorance and servitude. They must renew their own numbers so as to not become weak. However, the reproduction of a virtually immortal species must be strictly limited, or the food, the human cattle, will soon become insufficient. Thus, it is impossible to accept that immortality could be transmitted through a simple bite, as a contagious disease. Such a belief is constantly refuted by the facts. The path received... Okay, I skipped over a page. The path received its name in honor of the remarkable lord in history, Vlad Tepes, Dracula, the dragon. It is therefore certain that this prince traveled the path, and is highly probable that others later followed it up to him. Vlad, however, was not the first one. The path existed before him. He received his baptism from an elder lord. Documents prove, in fact, that the path has been codified since the dawn of history. The cryptograms structure it copied numerous times. The manner in which they merge with sacred art there demonstrates that among the crowd of naive copyists, a handful of initiates were at work, as desirous of ensuring the eternity of their knowledge as to reserve access to it and elite. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. The first leak. But if there was an uninterrupted chain of lords up to Vlad Tepes, which of them is the first link? Texts as old as writing itself suggest the name of Lilith, the killer of babies. Looking like a serpent, the demon of twilight, who had been a human being, but who escaped this condition by rebelling against God. Lilith's actual existence is a hypothesis to be considered. She would be then the acting incarnation of this thirst for power that constitutes the transcendent part of the human heritage. This feature, pushed to the extreme, characterizes the race of the lords, born in the midst of humankind, in a way entirely comparable to the phenomenon of the separation of species described by Darwin and his disciples. Thus, man must engender Übermensch, the superhuman, not only from a metaphorical point of view and a symbolical one, as the philosopher understood it, but also on the very concrete level of biology and of the balance of powers. Okay?
The Lords of Twilight is the work of an insane person. It's sheer madness.
Father, the war that has just ended shows that the whole world can go mad. In less than 30 years, evil will seize power and the earth will once more catch fire.
No, not so quickly, not so soon. After the carnage we went through, the world will take the time to let its wounds heal.
Ha!
You'll see. The author of the book, the Thule Society that publishes it, all of them are criminals who won't hesitate trampling on corpses to gain power and eternal life. The war will come because of them and their like.
Okay. According to the author of The Lords of the Path of the Dragon, according to the author of The Lords, the Path of the Dragon leads to Vlad Tepes.
That's very possible. Vlad was a cruel ruler, intelligent and determined. He could very well have made a deal with the devil and conquered immortality.
So he would have lived several centuries?
Be sure.
But where would he be hiding?
In Vladiviste? Why not? Or elsewhere. The fox might have changed his den. The only way to tell would be to follow the path until its end.
Okay. What else we got? Tell me about the Thule Society.
It's a group founded by Heinrich von Kreutzberg on the ruins of the Golden Dawn, another secret society. Thule reached out to Professor von Bergen many times, but he couldn't bear them. He always kept his distance, and I followed his example.
Did they approach you?
Many times. Openly, not in any roundabout way. Oh, they're very clever, very influential. I would never compromise myself with them.
Okay. In this next question, how can you be so sure that a new world war is going to erupt?
Do you know the hidden apocalypse of Thomas the Greater?
Yes. There are those who say it is a prophetic work.
Here it is. Open the book, and you will read some astonishing things.
Oh my gosh.
This page reveals the origin of the Great War. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand at Sarajevo. The event that would submerge the world in horror had been announced centuries before in this book.
Really? This page, you say?
Forget the direction you ordinarily read in. Try to compose words vertically or diagonally. See?
Casus belli. The cause of the war.
Exactly. The prophecy contains two other terms that cross the first one. Look for them, and you will find the date and place of of the assassination. Everything's there. In 1914, in Sarajevo, the incident that caused the war occurred. It can't be a coincidence.
It's very odd, I grant you that.
That's the past. Now let's discover the future. You see, on this page, the Thule Society is clearly designated. Its name is associated with Coitus, which means massacre. To know more, look for connected terms. So now everything is clear. At the instigation of the Thule Society, evil will triumph in Germany in 1936, and there will be massacres.
Okay.
So this prophecy is at the root of your mistrust of the Thule Society.
It's just one element among many others. Believe me, those people have no notion of compassion.
And the last question: What do you think the famous path of the dragon consists of?
I see it as a way to force destiny, to attain, thanks to the Force, spheres forbidden to man.
How could that be possible?
Father, you are well placed to know that sacraments of good exist. You must accept that there are also sacraments of evil, handed down from time immemorial.
If they do exist, these sacraments can only be dangerous illusions.
They do exist. 7 of them. 7 stages of the same route. 7 trials to change a man into a bloodthirsty monster who pretends to deal with God as an equal. The keys to the path of the dragon are hidden in ancient documents. Take this occult work. It contains an illustration that I would ask you to examine carefully.
Okay.
These variations between the 2 versions of the crucifixion are troubling. You say that Professor Van Bergen was able to interpret them?
Herman was convinced that the variations in the documents revealed the secrets of the path. Imagine yourself as a copyist, seeking to transmit a message to initiates. 2 methods are possible. Either you add an element to the original, or more subtly, you remove one.
The chalice?
Yes, it's absent from the copy, and I think it's a way to draw attention to it. The devil leaves his signature in its absence, Herman said.
Then the chalice is important.
An object is associated with each stage of the path. I'd venture a guess that the chalice is one of them. There are 6 others to discover.
What happens at the end of the route?
The initiate must accomplish one last rite. He won't be able to unless he's understood all he's achieved before. That is, if he knows the order of the trials, as well as the objects and symbols related to each of them.
Okay. Last question changed. Why use the crucifixion, a sacred work, to blasphemous ends?
If you want to transmit forbidden knowledge, it's an advantage to plagiarize sacred art. Your copy will be piously conserved by simple folk who don't even suspect what you've hidden there, and your message will go through the centuries, understood only by those to whom it is addressed, your spiritual brothers, the initiates.
Okay. Anything else?
Professor, I don't want to take up too much of your time. This visit was most interesting, even if, I must admit, your opinions hardly go in the sense my hierarchy expected.
It's regrettable that the Catholic Church is so rigid. But even if the existence of vampires may be doubted, the existence of the Thule Society is unquestionable. Beware of it, Father. I'll gather some documents that will show you all of the malevolence of this organization. Where can I send them to you?
At the Vladovista Inn, if you'd be so kind. Thank you for receiving me so graciously, Professor.
I wish you a safe journey back to Transylvania, Father. God keep you.
Okay, so it is time to go back to my hotel room.
No point for us to go to the library. I've already brought back several volumes that might interest you.
Okay. So, yeah. So it's time to go back to the hotel. Yeah. Seems like he keeps dreaming about that doctor a lot. Anyways, I think I have recorded long enough. If you would like to see more, just let me know in the comments. I know I hadn't done this game in a long time, and some aspects of it has changed since the last time I played, so they've taken out a lot too. And I don't think I showed you the blood test puzzle. That was pretty easy. You pretty much just mix it and go off of the key that they have available. So anyways, definitely if you would like more, just let me know, and we will play this along with the other games that we are already playing. I'm trying to scoot back and finish all of my other games, as well as the games that we just started. Anyways, guys, have a good day. Bye.